So I'm here at Frontier City for the second time. As you can see, I got my N95 and the Gator. So I'm pretty layered here. That's why I'm not really gonna vlog today. But fun fact, this might actually become my home park in the near future. So let's check out all the great things about this park. Diamondback is only open half the time, so you have a 50-50 shot of it being open, which makes for a fun guessing game whenever you come to the park. There's only half a sky coaster, so naturally it's only half the price. Silver Bullet's lift hill is incredibly slow, but it makes your ride time longer, and it gives you a great view of the road next to the park. There are growing algae in standing water underneath Silver Bullet, which will eventually be used as a green method to power the coaster, I'm guessing. There's only 4 real coasters here, which frees you up to leave the park early and see all the other fun things that Oklahoma City has to offer. Okay, but in all seriousness, let's take a critical look at Frontier City. This park is operated by Six Flags and has been since 2018. This had been a Six Flags park in the past, but the chain sold it in 2007 before their bankruptcy. But it's back under Six Flags operation, which is a good thing and a bad thing. Frontier City is a Western-themed park in a great area, right there in Oklahoma City, and has been around since 1958. It's very small, but it's very charming. It's arguably the best themed Six Flags park out there. It's loaded with Western buildings, especially in the front of the park, with most of the coasters toward the back. But again, it's a small park, so you can go from one end to the other pretty quickly. You enter the park and find yourself in the gift shop. It's big and has some solid park-related merch. Not a whole lot, if any, coaster-related stuff. But the best thing about the gift shop is that it serves as the entrance to the best coaster in the park, the Aero Shuttle Loop Diamondback. This was one half of the Lightning Loops from Six Flags Great Adventure, and I was not happy that it was closed on my first visit back in 2008. But being a Saturday in the summer, I felt good about my chances, and it was open this time. There are only 3 left of these in the world, and that's a shame, because this is a very fun and unique experience. It uses an electric winch launch on both ends of the track. This propels the train forward and backward. This is a coaster where you need to get the front and the back row. The drop out of the station in the back gives some great sustained ejector, and then you're hit with some positives through the loop, and into the second launch track to do it all backwards. In the back, you get that airtime going over that first drop, and then a little when you pop back up into the station. In the front, the first drop isn't as good, but you get a nice pop when you go into the second launch track. The big sell of the front row is the crazy backward ejector airtime that you get going down the drop after the second launch. I prefer the back slightly for the better traditional airtime, but the front is a more insane experience. I got 3 rides, and I was happy to finally get this credit. We hit the last 3 coasters, which I had already ridden a couple years ago, but it was good to revisit them. Steel Lasso is the park's newest coaster, a Vekoma suspended family coaster. This was their 2nd generation of this model, a big upgrade from the hang bangs like the Bat at Lagoon or Kitty Hawk at Carowinds. But it's the predecessor to the larger modern models like Freedom Flyer or Dragon Flyer. The biggest draw of the 2nd generation suspended family coaster is the lap bars. No more slamming your head against the restraints. And for kids and people just starting out with coasters, this is a perfect ride. It's smooth, it's fun, it's twisty, it has good pacing, and it does feel like you're flying. We got a couple rides on it and really enjoyed it. Silver Bullet is arguably the park's best coaster, the Schwarzkopf looping star that was moved to the park in 1986. I prefer Diamondback for the better forces, but Silver Bullet is really strong, and I really enjoyed my 2 rides in the front and the back on this trip. In the past, I've said this is one of the weaker Schwarzkopfs, but after this trip, I definitely think it's better than Colossus at Lagoon. Even though it has just the 1 loop, it takes place a little higher off the ground, so it has some better drops, especially that last airtime hill right before the final tunnel. This will toss you out of your seat in the front or the back. The last major coaster is Wildcat, a relocated wooden coaster made by the National Amusement Device Company, originally at Fairyland Park in Kansas City, and has been at its current home since 1991. The first thing you'll notice is the Museum of Wooden Coasters displayed in the queue line. These are old and modern wooden coasters with an explanation of what each one is next to its picture. Whoever decided to put this here was either a coaster enthusiast or just really appreciates the history of wooden coasters. Wildcat leaves a lot to be desired. It's an out-and-back woody with a very shallow drop, and a lot of jackhammering on the first few drops. But it does smooth out, and you get a little airtime coming over the hills. It has a really harsh brake run before the final run through the water, and this was drained on this visit, but if the train could fly through it, it would be a lot better. It also has a short 3-car train, which hurts some of the drag that you'd normally get over the hills. It's not a terrible ride, but it's not great either. I just got one ride this time, but I'd give this a ride each time if it was my new home park. You aren't going to be able to see a lot of this layout. As barren as Frontier City seems sitting right off a highway, and its other coasters sitting on a flat plot of land by a fence, Wildcat's course is almost completely surrounded by trees. It seems like you're escaping the park for a while, as if you're on a coaster at Kings Island or Holiday World. There are some other fun things to do at Frontier City. I've heard that its Wild West gunfight stunt show may be the first ever. I can't find anything to back that up, but when this park opened in 1958, the gunfight show was the main draw. This, along with the park in general, reminded me of Ghost Town at Knott's if it made up an entire park. There's a giant Ferris wheel on top of a hill, which is a great perch to see the whole park. It's hard to find the path to get there, but don't forget about it, so you can see the park from a bird's eye view. They have some basic flat rides. Nothing really stood out to me as different. They may be fun to get on when you're spending a whole day at the park as your home park, but if you're traveling, there's not much of a point to waste your time. I think the park could really benefit from a standout flat ride, like a pendulum or a scream and swing, because right now, it seems like the best they have to offer is their Larson Loop. Frontier City is operated by Six Flags, but does not feature Coca-Cola products, which is weird to see because Six Flags and Coke are connected at the hip. But the good news is that they have Dr. Pepper and Dr. Pepper Ices, which is absolutely phenomenal and something that I could get used to. This was also the first time that I was able to use mobile food ordering at a Six Flags park, and I was super impressed. It was easy to use, easy to filter the dining pass options only. All the restaurants and options were right there in front of you, easy to apply the dining pass, and even gave you the progress on your order and alerted you when it was ready. I hope this sticks around, and I expect that it will. Sometimes you're rushing to use your dining pass before your time expires, and a long food line will screw you over. But with this, that will never happen again. One thing I like about this park as a potential home park, since I'll always be taking Sophie here, is the height limit on the coasters. Nothing is over 48 inches, and Wildcat is just 42. There is one disappointing thing, and that's that Steel Lasso has a 48-inch height limit. It would be nice for kids to ride this before they reach the height limit for the more extreme looping coasters. But I can see Sophie really enjoying Diamondback, Silver Bullet, and Steel Lasso. She doesn't like wooden coasters, especially rough ones, so she won't like Wildcat. At least, not yet. Sophie loves water parks also, and they have a nice structure and another slide behind Wildcat, which is included with admission. But the main water park is completely separated from Frontier City, and it's a few miles down the road. In addition to that standout flat ride, I think Frontier City could benefit from a new thrill coaster. They haven't gotten one since Diamondback in 1993, and their last new coaster was Steel Lasso in 2008. This is where Six Flags comes in. I said their involvement in the park is a good and a bad thing. The bad part is that some of the charm of the park is taken away with all of those big advertisements plastered all around. But the good part is that they'll get more consistent investments than they would as an independent park. They already got a revamped kids area in the front of the park as soon as Six Flags took over, and this included a new Zamperla kiddie coaster. Their 2020 edition was for the separated Hurricane Harbor water park. There isn't a lot of land to work with, so when it comes to a new coaster, I'm thinking compact. Premier Skyrocket 2 and SNS Freespin seem like prime candidates for the park, especially the Freespin. I would love to see an RMC Wildcat, but that's pretty far-fetched. They need to extend the lift hill by at least 25 feet to make it happen, and it doesn't seem like a great candidate. For as far as RMC is concerned, a Raptor may be the best option. On this last trip, I ended up with 3 rides on Diamondback, 2 on Steel Lasso, 2 on Silver Bullet, and 1 on Wildcat. It would be painful to trade in Twisted Colossus, X2, and the entirety of Six Flags Magic Mountain as a home park for Frontier City. But honestly, it could be worse. The park has some redeeming factors, and it's definitely a park that we can have fun at for the day, especially when bringing the kids. And worst comes to worst, my second home park just 3 hours away would be Silver Dollar City, and I have no complaints there. That's all for my trip to Frontier City. Let me know if you've been here and what you thought of the park. What can Six Flags do for this park in the future? And do you think this park is better off with them running the show? Before you leave, don't forget to drop a like. That's the best way to show your support for the channel. And if you're new here and like coasters, please subscribe and hit the bell. I have a pretty wide variety of coaster content, from reviews to rankings to documentaries and more. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.